Ready to go? Hey, do you wanna be the king of the whole world? Well, you're going on top of the world, but you can't see your pockets fall down. All these little simple people trying to live their life. You trying to tell them you know, baby, cause you know that ain't right. Just trying to get them to believe. Hey, cause you wanna be the king of the whole world.
Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Slater Design Cymatic by Daniel Thompson. Now I have two stock 5.3 in what Firewire is calling the LFT construction. We have it in FCS, we also have it in Futures. We tested this board in a wide range of waves from 1 to 2 foot surf all the way to 8 foot surf, and we ran a bunch of different configurations. This is gonna be a great review. Grab your favorite drink, sit back, and enjoy the show. Now before we dive into the attributes of this board, I wanna first talk about when I saw Firewire release the footage on Slater surfing 6 to 8 foot Haleiwa on a 5.3 Cymatic, the way he was surfing the board off the bottom and in the pocket in the jumbled swell, it looked really hard to surf out there on a regular board, even if it was a little bit bigger of a board with more rail line. I thought, how is Kelly surfing a 5.3 in that big a wave and coming off the bottom so solid? And I thought, man, I have got to try one of those boards. So if you follow the show, you know that my first Tomo was the SKX. Now that has a little bit more of a high performance shortboard outline. That was a pro model designed for Stu Kennedy. You know, when you're surfing in front of the judges, I feel like they struggle seeing boards like this because I struggle seeing boards like this. My brother and I talked about the Vader, we've talked about the Evo. Getting on a board that's 5.3 and a blunt nose, it just really was hard for me to get past. But with my first board being the SKX, I really got to experience his planing hole design here on the bottom, so it had a lot of speed. But if you watch that review, in the smaller waves in that 1 or 2 to 4 foot range, I really struggled to get it vertical in the pocket. Why? Because it has a parallel outline and that extra added nose to there. I felt like it needed some open face, more like 4 to 6 or 8 foot surf where I could come off the bottom and have some time to get to the lip at the top. So this is my real first go at Tomo's modern planing hole, parallel outline, and really super short. So diving into the attributes, I think I want to talk about the parallel outline first. Now, from here to about right here, it's really straight, and that's what the parallel outline is. It's in this little 5.3, he's got this straight rail line, and he's able to put a lot of foam in a small amount of area. But when you take a board that has a parallel outline, they like to get going real fast, and they give you really good rail control, like edge control. You can put it on rail and hold it on rail for a long time because you have all of this rail working for you, right? But the downside to most high-performance shortboards that have a parallel outline, real straight rail line like that, is they go real fast down the line, but they have a hard time getting into the pocket and going vertical or doing turns, real tight turns in the pocket. And that's why Tomo has put it in a small package like 5.3. So where the board would normally struggle if it was 5.9, I can now get it in the pocket as fast as I want because it's so short. So I really experienced that on this board too. Now as we move into the tail here, you see I think he calls it a flyer, but it's like, let's just say it's a wing right here. This right here causes a break in the rail line, and it gives us something to pivot off of. And he's reducing surface area here. That means he's making the tail narrower, right? And every time we pull the tail in and it gets narrow, it gives us the ability to get more progressive in the pocket, right? We can get a little bit more aggressive in our turns. Now, if you look right here, he calls it a double bat tail. So most bat tails have 3 points like this, right? Well, this one has another break in the rail line with more reduction in foam. So again, Tomo's looking for maximum performance in the pocket, and each of these points right here are going to give us traction in the face of the wave. Now, another thing that I noticed is that if you look at this point and this point right here, it's kind of built like a diamond tail, right? There's a reduction in rail line over here compared to the center point right here in the middle of the board. And when we have a reduction in rail line, that enables us to turn the board real quick. So you're going to get a really responsive board, and then each point's going to give you the traction coupled with the channels he has out in the back. Now I want to talk about the rail and kind of the way Tomo distributed the foam here. Now, in my hand, when I put my hand on it, it's not a real full rail. You can tell it's tapered down here on the rail real nice. Apex of the rail's a little bit lower, so we're going to get those rails to give us some traction and easy to sink, right? Now, if you look here in the nose of the board, you can see it. It's thinned out real nice. You would think for 5.3, where's he going to pack all the foam? I felt like it's very well evenly distributed. It paddles really good, and you can see that back here, it's thinned out nicely. I want this ultra sensitive because this board's meant to be surfed like a high performance shortboard. So now I want to talk about rocker. I'm going to pick it up, and when we look at it here, there's some nose kick here. I would say maybe it's like a medium entry rocker here. You know, when we see boards with a blunt nose like this, we automatically, I'll just speak for myself, I automatically think groveler, right? Because we're used to seeing boards that are 5.3 nowadays, they're real bulky up front. This doesn't have all that bulk of foam, so this isn't going to affect swing weight whatsoever. So I never felt like the foam that he has up here or the rocker was ever going to be like affecting performance. I always felt like the middle and the back really dictates how this board surfs, right? Now, if we're talking about rocker here in the middle, this is key for this board. For it to surf like a high performance shortboard, it's got continuous rocker. That continuous rocker helps the board feel really responsive underfoot, so the board's really loose, and it's got good traction because of rocker and because of the parallel outline. So that rocker with the parallel outline and being shorter, that's why I can jam it and get it vertical, and that's another reason why I can surf it in bigger waves. Now, looking at the tail rocker, it looks to me like it's about medium. It's not like a super aggressive tail rocker, but at no point did I ever feel when I was surfing 2-foot surf or 8-foot surf, did it ever feel like it was going to slide out. And the bulk of the time I rode this board, I rode it as a quad, and quads have a tendency to want to, because there's nothing to pivot off in the middle, that it would feel like it would want to slide, but no, the board held in perfect the whole time. Now I want to look at this modern planing hole design that Tomo calls quad inside single concave. Now I'm going to lift the board up here as we're looking at it. If I start running the ruler right here about 6 inches from the nose, that's when his single concave starts. So as I come back, he put that single concave all the way through the entire board, right? And then you can tell it's pretty aggressive. Then he takes what he calls a quad concave that starts about midway point of the board and puts that inside of the single concave. And we know that single concave is going to give us lift and speed. But when he puts a quad concave inside the single concave, he's increasing lift even more. Now, as I come into the back, I'm going to set this down, but as I come into the back here, he's got these, it's getting a little bit more pronounced, kind of like little channels back here. These channels are going to give us some traction, right? It's going to grip, and it's going to work in conjunction with the double bat tail and his parallel outline to give traction on the face of the wave. And that's why I'm saying this board didn't slide out. Now I want to show you something else. Right where it starts, like on these like sides here, he's also got, look at the single concave on this rail right here. And I've watched something on Tomo. He talks about this like being a water ski. So when you get this board on rail, it's all about planing. It's all about speed, and it's all about getting a little bit of cup on the rail here, so that way that board can bite or dig into the rail on the face of the wave, and you can really push on it. And you know what? I tried that. I did my best to just push as hard as I could with this board. And depending on the fin setup that I chose, I really got this board to do what I want, and it felt solid off the bottom, and I could get it vertical and do whatever I wanted in the pocket. So now I want to talk about the fins I chose. Aaron went on vacation. We got a good sized swell, 6 to 8 foot. I started with the FCS2. I'm thinking, well, Kelly's riding it in Hawaii. I really want to try this board in bigger surf. So I put my go-to fin, the large Andino, as a thruster. And to be honest with you, it was so bumpy out there and jumbled in the swell direction that it was really hard to feel like what felt good and what didn't feel good. So it really didn't have the wow factor I was looking for as a thruster. So I went into a quad setup. Now the waves got smaller, Aaron got back into town, and the first quad setup I ran in it, I did the reactor. It's really upright, and I also went with the reactor quad rears. And the reason I did that is I'm trying to figure out what Kelly's running. Nobody there to help us on what fins work good in this board, right? I know his 2.1s are pretty upright, so I started here. And the way it felt for me in some of the 2 to 3 foot, maybe 4 foot surf, the board pivoted really quick, but it was almost too loose, and I was trying to get it under control, and it seemed like if I ever tried to really lay into a turn, I would lose some control. And there were some struggles at first, but the board had a ton of speed, and it was super fun to surf with so much, I felt like I was out of control, and at times I feel like that's a good thing for me. I want the board to be ultra responsive, and I want that speed. So I thought, okay, how do we tone that down a bit? So then I put in the Performance Core Carbon. So I'm getting a little bit stiffer fin here, a little bit more rake, and that gave the board more control. And I really liked this setup right here with the reactor quad rears. I could lay into my turns, I could surf it the way I want to surf, I didn't have to lay off it, and I had good control. Now as the waves got bigger, I tried fins with more rake. So like the Almeric, this is a medium template, and I put in the quad rears. But what I felt with this is because it had more rake, I could really lay into my turns a little bit, and I can kind of see the board settling down a little bit in some of these rights. But for the most part, that felt pretty good too. I think that if I had done the Almeric large, I think I would have had even more control because we got a little more fin depth in the water. But this is what's really cool about this board. You can really mess around with fins and feel what it looks like. Now, I finally got a photo of what Kelly was running. Now, his front fins are fiberglass, and the folks at FCS says it has probably a decent amount of rake. They kind of said, okay, we could go with the Andino for a sweep, and then he's running the Performer Quad Rears Carbon. So what's he looking for? He's looking for control and consistency in his turns because he went with a stiffer fin. Now I want to talk about the fins I chose in Futures. I did most of my fin configurations with the FCS 2 plugs because I don't know them as well as I'd like to. So after I figured out what I like there, it was easy for me to say, okay, I know what fin shapes are like that in Futures. So the neutral fin, kind of like a Performer, is going to be this Jack Freestone fin. Now this is a fiberglass. You can get it in the speed generating with the V2 foil. I ran that. This felt great. I could push real hard. Fiberglass fins, right? It's going to be more about control with the Hayden shape quad rears. Now this isn't super upright like the thruster set is, but I feel like it's upright enough to where I got a quick pivot and I have good hold with the Jack Freestones. Now if I'm going to ride this board a little bit in bigger surf, and I want good control, you can run the John Tech Flex, right? This has a little bit more sweep or rate compared to Jack Freestone's fin. You could even go a little bit more and maybe go with AM2s or the AM1s, which is a medium fin. And then you can go with the F8 quad rears. This is going to have more sweep or rake compared to the Hayden shape fins. Now, the biggest thing about this board is if you want it to be quick and nimble and playful, which it pretty much is by design, you can get an upright fin or a neutral and get it up in that pocket and get it real loose and playful. This is a great board to learn about what fins feel like under your feet so you can begin to learn on how to manipulate a board or add to or enhance what a board's doing. So bigger waves, I'd run the John Johns with the F8 quad rears, and then I'd run this setup right here on a regular basis. Let's look at some waves together. 1 to 3 foot surf. This board will do it as long as the wave's got a little bit of push, right? I wouldn't say I'm groveling by any stretch. Look at this little wave right here. Board's really nice, rail to rail. That's the reactors. I really had a good time. Don't have to push super hard. Look at this little wave. Board's quick. Yeah, just good speed the whole time. Coming off here, I felt a little out of control in that turn, but get it back. I would say that's a 1 foot wave, right? About waist high. It's got nice, it's carrying speed real nice, ending it well. So here's 2 to 4 foot surf. Coming off the bottom, nice and vertical. Wave kind of goes flat. Watch it gain speed here. Real nice roundhouse. Just to set up this turn right here. I really felt like this board was incredible as a quad. These are the performers with the reactor quad rears. Board felt really good. I had a lot of control, able to release the tail right there. Coming off the bottom, I love, watch the speed right here. Gaining tons of speed, great spray. Just felt good. I really felt like this board shines in the 2 to 6 foot surf. Super fun. You get the right fin setup for what you're looking for. Look at the projection. Finished it all the way to the end. Look at the down carve right here. That's the Almeric fin with the mediums and the small quad rears. I love this little wave right here. Just how loose and responsive the board is, and just be able to hit this turn with a lot of spray. Now here's some 6 to 8 foot surf, real clean day. Great wave, good speed, nice turn right there, lots of spray. That's the reactor quad set. I felt like it was a little loose, a little out of control. I'd say this is probably an 8 foot wave right here. Good turn. I'm running that Merrick mediums right here with the small trailers. I probably could have used a little more fin in the water. But for the most part, a little riv right there, so I kind of caught a rail. But watch this, the board's projecting, there's good spray, just waiting for it to set up. A lot of people on the way here. But yeah, the board's quick. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the LFT construction. I highly recommend, if you want to get in depth and details, head over to the Firewire website. They do a great job breaking down their own constructions. But I like the LFT. It's got good weight to it. You know, when you get into bigger waves, it's nice to have a little bit of weight to it compared to like the helium. But this is going to feel most like a PU, and for me, it has good spring and pop and out of turns. And I always talk about pressure dense on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 mean no pressure dense at all. This is about an 8.5. It's very light. I'm really hard on boards, so the LFT, I'm a fan. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Slater Design Cymatic. I had a blast. It's a favorite for 2018, and Tomo, you've converted my mind with the blunt nose. I'm over it. I'm excited to do more. I've ordered the Omni. That's coming up real soon. And a special shout out thanks to Firewire and Tomo for sending these boards down for review. Look, if you like the show, subscribe. You can also find us at surfandshow.com and maybe pass along the link to help us grow our community. That's it for today. Until next time, see you in the water. Bye-bye.
Waiting on top of the world. Well, you can't see your palms up, yeah. But when you're standing on top of the world, you said you can't see your palms up, yeah. Why don't you take another look at things? Life could be simple and smooth, but when you're sitting on top of the world, hey, so you can't see your problems up there.